Welcome to my Python presentation. I'm BV Raghuram from CSC AMLC section, BTech first year. Today my presentation is about number guessing game in Python. And for the introduction, the number guessing game in Python is very easy as we can consider the Python programming language is very easy when compared to C or C++ or Java, and it can be so basic that we can even consider the number guessing game to be as first project of many Python programmers who are learning Python programming. For the task to start our number guessing game in Python, we build a number guessing game in which the user or we select a range. Let us say the user selected a range that is from A to B, where A and B belongs to integers, not any rational numbers or any real numbers, and some random integer will be selected by the system, and the user has to guess that integer in the minimum number of guesses. And for our explanation for the number guessing game in Python, we start by asking the user to give us the range, which let's say would be from 1 to 100, and the compiler randomly generates 42 as the integer to be guessed. And now the guessing game has started, so the user entered his or her first guess as 50. The compiler shows try again, you guessed too high, and hinting that the range which he or she guessed from does not fall in 50 to 100, and this totally removes the half of range to be guessed, and again the user guesses half of 50. Could you tell me why? It is so that the half of 50 is 25. The user enters 25 as his or her second guess. This time the compiler will show try again, you guessed the integer too small. That means the integer is less than 25. From 1 to 25 are useless to be guessed, and now the user is going to guess from 25 to 50 range. Intelligently the user is going to guess 37 to completely remove the half of the range as third guess. This time again the compiler shows the output try again, you guessed too small. So with each guess the user is decreasing the range to be guessed from. It is getting smaller and smaller with each guess. Now the range is going to be from 37 to 50, for which the user might guess 43 as fourth guess. This time the compiler will show try again, you have guessed too high. So the new guessing range for the user will be starting from 37 to 43, again for which the user guessed the half of its range intelligently. This is 40. Then this time the compiler will show try again, you guessed too small, leaving the guess even smaller range, which will be from 41 to 43. Now the user guessed from 41 to 43 as 41 as the sixth guess, which is wrong. So the output will be try again, you guess too small. And finally, the user gets the right number, which is 42 as the seventh guess. So total number of guesses taken to the user to identify the randomly generated integer, which would be 42, is 7. Now for another explanation, this time the user guesses the inputs from range 1 to 50. The compiler then randomly selects the 42 as integer. Now the guessing game starts again. So the half of 50 is going to 25. The user is going to guess 25 as a first guess. This time the compiler will show try again, you guess too small. That means the integer less than 25, which are from the range 1 to 25, are useless to be guessed. Now the range is getting shorter. That means the user is going to guess from 25 to 50. So intelligently the user is going to guess half of it, which would be 37 as second guess. This time the compiler shows the output try again, you guess too small. Per user, the guessing game is getting smaller each by each guess. So now the guessing range for the user is from 37 to 50, for which the user guessed 43 as third guess. This time the compiler will show an output. Try again, you guessed too high. So the new guessing range would be from 37 to 43, again for which the user guessed half of this range. That would be 40 for the fourth guess. This time the compiler is going to show the output. Try again, you guessed too small, leaving the guess in range even smaller, such would be 41 to 43. Now the user guessed 41 as fifth guess, which is wrong. Then the output is going to be try again, you guessed too small. And finally the user guessed the right number, which would be 43, 42 as sixth guess. In this case, the total number of guesses taken for the user are 6 to guess the right integer, which is randomly selected from the range 1 to 50. So from the explanations, we can understand that the minimum number of guesses depends upon the range. The compiler must calculate the number of range the user is going to guess from on its own. For this, we use a formula which would be minimum number of guesses is equal to log of upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. Starting with our logarithm for the number guessing game in Python, the user is going to select the lower bound and upper bound of the range. The compiler then generates a random integer between the range and stores it in a variable for future references. For repetitive guessing, we are going to use while loop, which will be initialized and start the number guessing game. If the user guessed a number which is greater than randomly generated number, the user gets an output. Try again, you guessed too high. If the user guessed a number which is smaller than randomly selected number, the user gets an output. Try again, you guessed too small. And if the user guessed in a minimum number of guesses, the user gets congratulations as the output, showing or resulting that he or she has successfully completed the guessing game in Python. Else, if the user does not guess the integer in the minimum number of guesses, he or she will get the output better luck next time as the final output. And implementation of algorithm or our code for the number guessing game in Python, we start by importing random and math and then asking the user to give integers for lower and upper bounds, and then the program is going to give user that he or she has only got n number of chances to guess the integer according to the range of integers the user has given. Then the initialization of number of guessing counts begins, and then the calculation also begins while using the while loop. Then the user has to take a guess which will be stored in the guess as an integer, and then if the taken guess is equal to the randomly generated integer, then the output would be congratulations, you did it in first number of try. Or if she or he takes more than the one or two, the count will be recorded and the number of guesses the user has taken will be shown in the output. Once the integer is guessed, the loop will be broken with using the break code, and then we use if the user selects the guess which would be less than x or greater than x, it would show accordingly you guess too small or you guess too high as the output. So the number of counts this decides to go out of the number of times the user has to guess, the output would be better luck next time. So the output for the number guessing game would be for as following on the screen. The user would be asked to enter the lower bound and upper bound as integers, which would be giving the range from 1 to 100. Then according to the range, the program is going to give that the user only has 7 chances to guess the integer, which would be randomly generated by the program. Then the user starts with guessing a number which would be 50, and then the user is hinted that he or she guessed too small, then is asked to guess another number. Then the user is going to start by guessing 75 and eliminating another range he needs, and then he is going to get that the number he guessed is too high. Then again he is going to guess another number or integer, and then so on. He is going to do it on his sixth try, which would be randomly generated number 54. Then the code would be finished and the output would be congratulations, you did it in the sixth try and you have guessed the integer successfully. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you have understood how to code and run the program which allows you to start a game which would be number guessing game. It would be very fun to try doing it by yourself, and the number guessing game is very easy. So it is really fun to explain it to you all, and I guess you might have understood something. Thank you for listening to my presentation today.